Hi everybody, this is Tina with Rehatch Designs. Anyway, I am here. I didn't do anything for Tuesday and Thursday this week because I live in Texas, in North Texas, and it has been very cold here, and my power was out. So I was one of those many people that lost power, and it was very, very cold. And I shouldn't laugh because it's very serious, and there's still people without power. Um, this is the first day that I've had a full day of power and haven't lost power. So I'm just now getting kind of back to where I can do something. So I got in my craft room and I'm just kind of piddling around a little bit. And I just thought for this Fun Friday, I would just do something kind of quick and nothing really new, but just have some fun with it. I saw something not too long ago on someone's post, and this isn't a new thing, but it made me think about trying something just to see how it worked. Um, they had put baby oil on different things just to get that kind of translucent look to different papers. And I kind of wanted to do that with just some different types of papers and see how that worked. And then I also wanted to kind of compare that to using wax and see which one I liked better. And I kind of been doing it, but I kind of want to show you the differences and what you may want to try. I think they're both good for different reasons, but anyway, the first thing I'm going to do, I've got some paper towel out here now. I mean, this is just several layers of some paper towel that I put down. Um, and I've got my little iron. This is just a travel iron that I've had for years, and I just decided to use it for wax because I've never really taken it with me anywhere because I have usually have an iron in a hotel or whatever. Um, what I want to do is I'm going to do some things with the wax and then kind of compare that to doing stuff with baby oil. I mean, this is just plain old baby oil that I got from the dollar store. And then these wax beads, I got a big thing like this from Amazon. And this is the yellow beeswax pellets. And I don't think it has a name of where I got it, but they have these all over. And gosh, this will last forever. Anyway, I put some in a jar so it's easier for me to get out and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes I pour too much out and I put it back in. Um, what I usually use is I take a piece of parchment paper and I just plain old parchment paper. And this is just to kind of keep things a little neat. That way, if it, if I put too much on, it just spills on the parchment paper. Um, and then I will use it to iron things. This is just a piece of paper that I copied. This happens to be parchment paper that I use. I usually always copy everything on that, but any just copy paper will work. It doesn't have to be that. And I just usually take a few pieces like this and I usually put them toward the middle more because I usually iron out. And that's all I do. Anyway, it was very cold here, guys. So all I can say is it was something else, and it has been very trying for a few days. Um, one of my sons, who lives in downtown Dallas, his um, electricity just came on today, and his house had gotten around 35, 36 degrees inside. And then my house, um, our electricity was out for like 14 hours, and then it would come back on for 3 or 4 hours, and then it would like go off again, and then it just kept going on and off. Okay, so that may be enough. Let me see. Nope, I'm missing. If you can tell, you just spread the pellets around. You saw how quick I did that. But if you turn it over, and I usually always turn it over, you may have some spots, if you can tell, that didn't get any wax. So I'll just take a few more little pellets, and I'll put a few more on here. Okay. And I just lay it right on the pellets and move it around. It melts super quick. The other thing people need to realize when you do this, it does not say sticky or anything like that. It just completely dries within a minute, if that. I don't even think it takes that long. But see, you can tell when I go over this that it is completely saturated, right? Okay. So I will let that sit there for a second. I'm going to pull it out. Oh, it's got that one little piece there. I try not to touch it too much because it kind of leaves little like fingerprints on it. So, but it dries in a matter of seconds. So, anyway, that is really cool. And you see it's very translucent. I don't know if you can tell my hand under there. But I love to use this stuff. You can use it in a journal, as a page, all kinds of stuff. But I like to make envelopes out of them. It makes your paper sturdier, so, um, and um, it doesn't feel waxy really. It has an interesting feeling to it, but it's not super thick or anything like that. So, anyway, that's all you do for that. Okay. Here I have a few other pieces here that I want to try. I thought I wanted to do this. Is just a vintage piece of music paper, and I thought this would be fun just because I want to make something out of it. So I'm going to give it a little extra strength, and I thought I would do that. And you know how I think I made like an envelope or a pouch out of this? I just think using the wax is really going to help do that, make it a little bit stronger. Just going around the edges. And you can see when you're not getting spots with it. If you want to put more on there, like, see, I think it could use a couple more little. And the idea is not to put too much on. You can always kind of just scrape it off, though. Definitely. You see, and I have this on low, by the way. I don't have it on high, so it's not, it melts very quickly. You can use a craft iron for this, and that might be better for some people. It's smaller. It has a lower temperature. I haven't found any problems using this, so I had it already, so I thought, well, now I have used melting wax with a heat gun, and that is really easy to do. I'll show you that in a second. That way, if you want to do it that way, you can. Okay, so I think this is pretty saturated. I usually go over it one last time just to kind of spread the wax around to make it kind of even. But what's really cool, now you could do the other side if you don't feel like there's enough on there, but it goes all the way through and you can feel it on the other side. I usually just do one side if it looks like it's done well, but it's really cool. Isn't that neat? So the really fun thing about that is now it's kind of translucent. You could put that in a journal just like that as pages, or you can use it to make an envelope with. It's just really fun. This is just music paper. Put that aside. One of the other things, like here's an old map. So that makes it really fun. Now this is a little brittle. So the cool thing about this is it kind of helps it a little bit. I still, if I folded it, I would put washi tape on it because this is a very vintage map. So see how instantly, and it dries so quick. So it's an easy thing to do. I like to do it on different elements too. Like if you have cutouts and things like that, because it makes them a little bit stiffer without really being much thicker. Okay, let me get that over there. And so, see, it's gone all the way through. I always check on the other side to make sure it's gone all the way through. And you can tell, like, see, I have a spot right there that needs to be melted. Oop, I ripped it a little bit. That's okay. But anyway, you can see how cool that is when you're done. So, see, there's one spot right there that I didn't get. You can see the white in there. So then you would just take this and kind of go over it. Let's do the whole side. So anyway, that is just super neat how that you can do that so quickly. And when it dries, it really doesn't feel sticky. It doesn't feel waxy, any of that. It's just kind of a really neat feeling. Um, so I love doing that. The other thing that I love using it for is like these book pages. This is a vintage book page, but a lot of the old books, it's a very lightweight book page. Let's take this middle one out. I love using it for this. And what that does, you will see, let me put this over here. Really works fun on this stuff. Because this is a thinner paper, just take this a little bit right here and get it all the way across. There's a couple of spots that are not going over here. So this is going to dry in just a second. And look how translucent that is. Is that not fun? I mean, that is just really cool. Really, really cool on these old pages. And you can fold that up and make an envelope or put that in a book. I just really love those. I love how that looks and feels and everything. Another thing, let's see here. I have a dictionary page. And I love how it makes, let me tear this so we do just half of it. I love how it makes, a lot of the dictionary pages are really lightweight also. And you have to think too, you don't have to use this as a whole page. It works really well to tear in pieces and stuff like that. But it's super easy to do. All right. And this will dry. I mean, it really dries, as I said, in a matter of seconds. So I'm just holding it till it dries. And you know, worst case scenario, if you touch it too early, it'll get like a fingerprint and then you just remelt it. So it's already dry and you can see this part. Oh, we've got one spot right there. It needs to melt. Okay, but you can already see how translucent that is. And oh my gosh, it feels so cool. And this would be so great to put in as a page in a journal, you know, just like that. That would be just by itself, nothing else. The feel of it and everything. It's just really fun. Um, and the other thing, let me get them out. Oh, what happened to them? Okay, so one of the other things I like to do, here is a couple of things that I love to use this for um, just cutouts. These were all done on just weight cardstock, and it's really kind of lightweight cardstock. But it's what's really fun about this is that it gives it a whole nother feel. Um, and I just take a few of them, stick them on there. I just put a few of this little drops on there. And I usually do a few at a time. I don't just do a couple. Alright, so then I will just take this and do basically the same thing. And see, I have all this up there. A lot of times I'll melt that and bring it in, you know. So now I have that on there. That's already melted, so I'll pull that off. I just make sure I cover the whole thing. Oh, that's stuck to the bottom. And I will melt sometimes what's already on my parchment paper and just kind of smush it in there. And make sure it gets nice and coated on both sides. I'm going to move that over. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just putting it in the stuff I already have, melting it, make sure it's on both sides. Do the same thing. The other thing too is if you get this on your hands, it's not super hot. It's, you know, let me tell you, hot glue is way worse than this stuff. I mean, I wouldn't recommend trying to do it, but it doesn't really hurt. It's just wax, and like I got a little piece on my finger. It didn't burn me at all. Okay. All right. So, let me just kind of show you how that looks when it's done. And I think this yellow beeswax gives it a little tint too. So it kind of vintages it up a little bit. Now, if you are wanting to ink these and stuff like that, I definitely recommend doing it before you wax them because it is harder to wax them. I mean, to ink them after you put the wax on. It just doesn't stick as well. But anyway, let me pull this one up. So that is how they look when they're done. It's kind of hard to really explain it. You just kind of have to, you know, you have to kind of feel it really. But it does make them a lot sturdier. And if you're going to put these like on a cover or something of a journal, a lot of times it's a good idea to do that just so that they're kind of sealed. And this is a great sealer. I've used this many times for the cover of my journals. The other kind of things that I use this for is I will take labels and do those. A lot of times I'll take like just things like that, or maybe some words. Okay. Just to kind of, it just makes them a little bit stronger and more prominent. It's the same thing maybe you would do with let's say if you were doing embossing, like anything that you might want to emboss or something like that, then maybe you would do that. So I just take those, same thing. And I will just take these and put them on there. And there's more wax there usually than what I need. But usually when I do this, I'm dumping a lot of stuff in there and I'm just doing one after the other. So, see these things, they will stick to the bottom. If you want to, you can get your tweezers or something like that, which I have them over here. And they're not hot. It's not hot. I'm only using tweezers because I don't want my fingers. I don't want fingerprints all over it. That's the only reason I'm using the tweezers, not so. And if they dry and they don't dry evenly, or you have little clumps or anything like that, like okay, on this one I do. I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to go over it like that. Pull that off of there. Okay, so anyway, then I would take these and they're done. Now this one, just look, see what I did? I scratched that. So then I would just take it and kind of go over it again and we're fine. So that's kind of cool. So that makes it stiffer and kind of a cool thing to do to your just little elements that you might even add on a page. It vintages them up a little bit. I mean, I think it's easy and it's not really too much of a fuss, and you can do a bunch of them all at one time. So these are all done. They're all dry already, so they're ready to use. Not a big deal. So that's cool. The other thing you could use them for, or you can do with it, is you could also oops, I was going to use this for like on a cover. I just kind of cracked it, but that's okay. This will prove my point. And this is something that I had done a little collage on that I want to use on the front of a journal. So I'm going to do this and melt this. So this gives it a nice seal to it and a little vintages it up a little bit. And the cool thing about it is now I have sealed this, and if I put it on a cover, then guess what? That's sealed. And if I wanted to take, let's say for instance, something like this and put it on there, let's just do this one. You could just take that and put it right on what you've already melted, and just take your iron, and it just kind of glues it together. Looks like we need a little bit more. There's some dry spots on here. I gotta put a little bit more on there. Oops. Oh, I put too much, but that's okay. So you just basically melt this, and then you would just take, I think we need a little bit more over there. Just take your, whatever you're putting on there that's waxed. And I usually wax my other thing first so that it has wax on it already. But you could maybe put, like this one needs a little bit more under there. So I'm going to put that there. There we go. So anyway, then you can just add wax and then seal whatever it is that you're on there, and it's sealed with the wax. So this is warped a little bit, so it's kind of have to go that way. But that is kind of a cool thing to do. Put that aside. Anyway, that's just kind of some of the things I like to do with the wax. Just to kind of get that feel. I don't know. I mean, I do a lot of covers. I do the entire cover with wax a lot of times if I'm doing like a leather look cover or something. I think it looks really good. It's not shiny when it dries, so if you can look at this isn't shiny, so it's kind of a great way to seal things if you don't want it to have a real shiny look. Because even when I use a matte finish, a lot of times on my if I use Mod Podge, it still looks a little shiny. So I don't know. I love it to seal things. Now, what I was telling you about earlier, and let me turn off my iron because I'm not going to use that anymore. I tried. Let me pull this up. I won't use it, but I tried doing the baby oil thing because it's supposed to give you kind of a similar look, and I'm going to show you, and that way you can kind of see for yourself how it looks. Like for instance, we did this paper, and this is the wax. Well, here's another piece from the same book. I'll just pull that out. This one's already done. Okay. And then you can kind of decide which one you like. So this is what we did with the wax, and I think it's just really translucent. It's cool. I think it, I don't know. I just like what it does for the look of the paper. But you may like this other look and feel better. I took just plain old baby oil. This is what I got from the dollar store. And then I just got one of these little cotton swabs. Here, I'm going to move this for a second. Get it out of the way. Okay. I'm just going to do one of these little cotton swabs here. And I just took that. This is just paper towel that I have down. And I just took some on this. And actually, you can put some right on your paper. And I just went over the whole thing and saturated it with just baby oil. That's all it is. I'm going to go all the way. If anything, this is great for your hands. If your hands are dry. My hands were really dry. So, and I did turn it over and do the other side to make sure it went all the way through, because I found that you really had to pour a lot on this for it to go all the way through. So, anyway, I got it on both sides. And then, it does make your hands feel good. Look, see, I'm getting all the wax off with it. I just saved that because I'll use it for multiple things. I took another paper towel. And this is just one, I used this before, so. And I just kind of wadded this up and then just kind of go like this and take a lot of the extra oil off. Do it on the other side also. So I do that. And it also kind of gets it in there more, okay? And then I let it dry. So I let this dry like overnight. I'm going to go ahead and dry this with my heat gun real quick, and then you'll see. All right, so here is the piece that I just did with the baby oil. And I usually do, if I'm going to do this, I do a few of them and I just leave them out overnight, and they're usually dry in the morning. But you can do it with your heat gun. So anyway, here's the one that we did with the wax, and I had folded it, so you'll see the wax crease going down the middle. And let me fold this one so you can see what happens and what it looks like. And the cool thing about this is it doesn't have as much of that crease showing because you don't have the wax cracking. But I don't know that you would see that, okay? Really, if you put that in a journal. They both have very similar effects to them. So there's the one with the baby oil, okay? You can see through that. And then here's the one with the wax. So, you know, I think they both have pluses. Let's see if I have the same color. Here's another thing, because we did the other wax page, and I can show you what that looks like. This is just the parchment paper. You can use copy paper. Anyway, I'm going to do the same thing to this. Now, it is not going to be as translucent when we're done because we're starting out with a paper that's thicker. But I want to see how this compares to the one that we did with the wax, just to see how it looks. And I'm just kind of squishing it around, make sure it gets in. And you can tell when you're doing this because you'll see white spots if it doesn't get in all the way. Like, see right here, you can see that. And you just go, just make sure you get it good on both sides. And there you go. So now that you have it absorbed into the paper, because that's your goal, is to get it in the paper, then you just, again, I just used paper towel and went across it and took the extra off. So do that on this side. Then again, see, that still made it pretty translucent. Now this one is the wax. Now this is a pink color, but I think it turned out very similar. Very similar as far as being translucent. Now this is not dry all the way, and I think when it's dry it gets more translucent. So I'm going to go ahead and dry this one, and then we'll see how it looks. Okay, so anyway, I dried this, and it is still, it's translucent. I would say about the same as the wax. This is the wax one. So here's your wax version, and then here's the baby oil version. And probably the baby oil is even a little bit more translucent than the wax, I would say. Yeah, I would say that the baby oil, probably. Now they have two different feels. This feels a little thicker because it has the wax on it. But honestly, it doesn't feel super thick. I mean, that's just how it is. But this, to me, has a different feel to it. It feels more like vellum, I would say. So if that's the feel you want, I think that's really cool. And now, like I said, you could take these and use them as pages. I did, let me show you as a comparison already. I did, now this is that music paper that we did. And you saw how translucent that is or whatever. Well, here is one that I did and I already dried with some music paper that I did with the baby oil. And that's really cool. That could be a really neat page. I could see, using it to make something with. The same with this. On this, I probably would maybe I would use this to see which side would go up. So if I want this up, I would have to do, it goes the opposite way, yeah. I would probably have to put this up here. So let's just say I wanted to make an envelope or something. Oh, did it very crooked. The bad thing about this is that the wax will crack and you'll see that line, but you could always cover that up with lace or something, and then, because you'll see where the wax cracks on the wax. So maybe put lace or something up there, but that would make a really cool envelope or something, or, because it has a really neat feel to it, just a really fun feel to it. I could see definitely doing that with that. This one, I think maybe I like the feel of it. You could definitely make an envelope out of it, but I think it'd be fun just as a page or something, just like that, right? Now these, I already made some, but, oh, and here's another thing I did. I did just some pages that I printed out, and I did this with the baby oil, and I really like how that felt to put in a journal, just like that. It has a really fun. I would say that it feels a lot like maybe vellum. It's not quite as see-through, but it has kind of that feeling to it, and I thought that would be kind of fun. But let's see here. You definitely could do that with the wax too, and then just try that. So I made a couple of envelopes here. This is with a dictionary page that I did, and I thought that would be really a fun thing to use. And it's very translucent, it'd be kind of cool. This is done with the baby oil, and it made this really fun envelope. It feels really, it's just a really fun feeling. I think that would be fun to put in a journal because it has a interesting quality to it. And then this one I did, and this is done with the wax. So, just some ideas that you might want to have fun with and play with. I like playing with this stuff, and I like using it on my journals for different things. So I thought maybe you guys might have fun watching me do it. So anyway, that's all I have for today. I am very feeling very blessed that my heat is on and I'm not freezing anymore, and that I have a warm house to be in, because I know a lot of people still don't in Texas, and my prayers are out to you. I know how it felt. Whew, man, it was tough. You don't think, you bundle up and everything, and you think, oh, it can't be that bad, but when it's like wind chill factor of 10 below and you don't have any heat in your house, you know. So I guess there's a lot of reasons. Now, we get cold here a lot in North Texas. This isn't a new thing here, but I think it doesn't happen that often that the entire state is cold. And, all the way down to the border till now, the whole state was just, having freezing temperatures. So obviously, our grid couldn't handle it, I guess. I don't know. I guess they'll get to the bottom of it. But Boy, oh boy. And then now people in my area, and we're not having to specifically in our home, but all around us in lots of areas, they don't have water because they're having to boil water because I guess the treatment plants or something went down. So now we have that too to deal with. So it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. So I'm very hopeful that a lot of this stuff will get straightened out. But you know, I don't know. I just think a lot of people in Texas are hurting, and I'm very very grateful. And all of my other two sons, their electricity went out for a few days. One of them, my oldest, came to stay with us. Although I told him it was hit or miss because we'd go on. It was something else. We'd go on for like, you know, a few hours and then it would shut off and you go into panic because you don't know if it's going to be another 14 hours before you get any energy again. So, oh, I do want to tell you one story that was just amazing. We had a guy, well, Tony and Mike. Tony is the wife and Mike is the husband. In our neighborhood, we have like a neighborhood post where everybody puts stuff on Facebook or whatever. And they were talking about a lot of us have the gaslit fireplaces, not the logs, but the enclosed, thing. And they don't put off a lot of heat, but they put off some heat. Like I've used it a lot of times in the wintertime here. It's not that warm. I'll just turn that on and not turn the heat on the whole house. But you think, oh, I'll use my fireplace. Well, you can't because apparently the way it works is the starter, it has to start with the electricity and also the electricity has to be on. It's not just to start it to make the gas, even though it's gas fed, you can't it you have to have electricity with it. Well, apparently there's a way to use it with backup D batteries. And so he put out there how you open it up. This guy was ex-military, and he is a safety engineer or something. And I don't remember the company or whatever, but anyway, he was talking about what you do and open up the grate and deal. Well, and then you should have this little backup thing with D batteries. Well, we didn't have that. Okay, so I thought, oh shoot, and he goes, no, there's a way to do it anyway. Um, and he was kind of explaining it, or they're explaining it on Facebook, and I go, I don't think my husband didn't want to mess with it, because you're playing with gas and stuff. You don't know, we're already freezing. We don't want anything worse to happen, but interesting enough, he went to, I don't know, dozens of people's houses, and they took our address, and this couple went out and bought a ton of D batteries. They had some tape, and he would just knock on the door, and they both came in, and they MacGyvered this, like this the same thing you would get with the little battery pack thing, basically, and started our fireplace. And oh my gosh, that made such a difference in our house because it went from being like 36 degrees to 42 degrees, which made it tolerable. Okay. So, anyway, yeah. And he did that. He went from house to house doing that. And mind you, it was very cold. And yeah, I just thought that was so great. And, of course, people were opening up their homes to people, and that, because there were some people that didn't lose power. So, you know, and it was just amazing. So people really, stuck together and stuff like that. But I do know that there's people all over that still have not gotten their power back. So there are some very cool, and you think, oh, go to a hotel. Well, people can find hotels. My son that lives in Dallas, he didn't want to come out here because the roads were treacherous. Was really afraid to get on the road, and we live a good 40 minutes away from him. So he was trying to, stay in his house, and he's in a 50-year-old house, and it was on average, 35 degrees in his house. And his electricity never did come on. Ours came on after 14 hours, stayed on for 5 hours. Then one would go off for 3 or 4 hours. But, so that's not that bad. At least our house had time to warm up. A lot of people, theirs never came on. And his was like that. So he couldn't find a hotel anywhere. So, eventually I guess he found one and he went there and they stayed one night and then that next day they had his electricity on, but you know, and then my oldest son, his electricity was off for like 2 days. So he came to stay with us and brought his dogs with him and you know, so they're with us and now his electricity's on and still, I had a sister in San Antonio where hers was out for 4 days. So, you know, anyway, it's cold, so it's tough down here, and in North Texas we get cold weather all the time, but we don't normally have our electricity go out for days at a time. So that's the part that made it different. Anyway, guys, I hope you had fun doing this. I hope everybody's fine, but um, and anybody that's out there in Texas or in the area that is having trouble, I hope things get better for you because I feel your pain. It was cold. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you guys soon.